Alright everyone, it's time to talk about Trump and the Freedom Caucus because he's sort of given them an ultimatum that they can't refuse. Namely, it appears that what he's suggesting, based on his tweet, link in the description, archived of course from CNBC, so that they don't get any friggin' ad revenue and they don't get any actual clicks. And always do that. Use archive.is, it works wonders. You see a news article, make sure you're using ad block there, plop it in there, archive it, then you can spread it around so that people aren't adding anything to the corporate media. You must start doing this, all of you. It takes a few extra seconds, very, very simple. Many times the article's already been archived anyway, so it'll just give you the link right away. It doesn't need to process for that 10 seconds or whatever. Just refresh it, by the way, if it doesn't come up fully. Usually it's been processed and just doesn't tell you. The Freedom Caucus is sort of the remnant Tea Party, sort of further right of the GOP. And they didn't like the healthcare proposal. That's why that, by the way, failed. Because that was designed by the more centrist Republicans, you know, the neocons, people like Paul Ryan. That Trump actually, I don't think, really agrees with. He just simply wants the Freedom Caucus on board to work with him. In his negotiation style, he'll probably end up giving them some of what they want. He'll give something to the center-left as well to get a few Democrats on board. He'll placate the rest of the moderate Republicans. That will probably be his operative strategy for the next few years. This will ensure he gets a healthcare reform that's less Ryan-esque, something that will actually be able to pass and be more popular. It can get him the wall that he wants as well, regardless of the form that it takes. It can get him at least some of the budget cuts that he wants. It can probably get him a tax reform bill, specifically to help out the sort of self-employed and upper middle classes most, which is a good idea. It can get him most of the major proposals that he made during the campaign are actually achievable. People say they're not. People said for months, there will be no wall, there will be no tax reform, he'll never cut any bureaucracy, it's impossible, blah, blah, blah. You don't understand what Trump actually represents in his executive capacity. Not a totalitarian, like some of his foes believe, but rather somebody who largely exists to negotiate in order to play different groups off in different ways to amalgamate at least 51% support for anything that he suggests. That's his operative strategy. Sometimes that involves, by the way, putting forward something that is an abject failure, like Ryan Care, in order to get people talking about how to fix that problem, taking suggestions from different groups, seeing what the support for those suggestions actually is, and then cobbling something together in double quick time to resubmit it. That's what I think he'll do with the AHCA. I think ultimately in its next form, it's much more likely to pass. There's still no certainty. The Democrats could completely stonewall him, meaning he has to go a little bit further right, and then you may piss off like maybe Lindsey Graham or something like that, or John McCain, who don't want to work with him anyway. When they see, though, I think his essential strategy, they might back off. Especially if he makes this kind of threat, essentially indicating the possibility, oh, maybe we'll get someone to primary against you. Maybe we'll try to kick you out from within the party. I'll refuse to support you. I'll support somebody who wants to compete with you. You'll be screwed because you'll be running against essentially the President of the United States. You probably won't win that engagement because Trump's popularity may be kind of on the low side, but among Republicans, he's still the main Republican. You have to understand that polling doesn't mean anything within party. Within the partisan core, Trump is wildly popular. That's basically all the Republicans there approve of the job he's doing. Some of the center-right, though independent voters, still support what he's doing. He can branch out further. He can get to the center-left and get 60% of the country to like what he's doing if he treads carefully and if he uses that master negotiator that he has within him, which is what he tends to do. The fact that he's brash and shoots from the hip occasionally, doesn't really matter. That just makes him more quote-worthy. He realizes this is why he keeps doing it. So that's what I think he'll do. I think it's a good idea to warn the Freedom Caucus, but at the same time, he needs to get the Rands on board. He needs to get the libertarian-leaning fringe of the GOP back aboard with anything he's doing. He needs to throw them a bone. It doesn't matter what bone he throws to them, he needs to have them aboard. Rand Paul, among the youth, is probably the most popular Republican. Presidential candidate, well-regarded senator, son of Ron Paul, who is even, I think, more popular among the youth despite being totally geriatric now. He needs to have Rand visible within what he's doing. He needs to take some photo ops with Rand Paul, invite him over more often. He needs to listen to Rand Paul. That would be the best suggestion I could give to Donald Trump. It also may ingratiate you to at least some of the Democrats that don't even dislike the dude, regardless of whether he's a Republican, because of things like the drug war and some of these other issues where he largely agrees with them on. Having Rand Paul front and center as much as possible would be a good thing. Also, Trump, I think, fundamentally is closest to being sort of a Rand Paul Republican anyway in his ideology. That's my reading of it. There was a reason I said, when the campaign began during the primaries, I said, I support Rand Paul. Donald Trump is one of the few other Republicans in the field that's even tolerable. And of course, Rand drops out. I back Trump after flirting with the idea of voting for the Libertarian Party. When that fell apart, the only person left with sanity was Trump. I can't vote for the Green Party. They're socialists. Yes, hippie grandma is very funny. Jill Stein. But no, not going to win my vote. Hillary Clinton, dynastic figure, neoliberal, might as well vote for Jeb Bush. They're the same thing. We'll get the same retarded form of government that we've had for the last few years. So there's no purpose to supporting her. Trump, a little bit different, a mild reformer. People claiming that he'd give them the moon on a stick were wrong then and they're wrong now. I pointed out that they were wrong. He's a mild reformer, but it's far better. It's like restoring Reaganism. Reagan ultimately was kind of still a neocon, but he was one that was capable of at least doing and saying the right thing enough of the time so that he's remembered more fondly than many of our recent presidents. The same would be true of Bubba Bill on the left. More of a partisan figure, but at the very least, capable of sanity. Obama was not capable of sanity. W was not capable of sanity. Herbert Walker was not capable of sanity. Many of the people trying to run, Hillary Clinton's not capable of sanity. She's not. Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, some of the Ted Cruz. No, I don't like Ted Cruz. Just because he happens to have endorsed and bent knee to Trump doesn't mean that I would ever vote for him. I can't because he was born in Canada. And I'm not going to let that issue go. If he were to run again, I'd say the same thing. He's not eligible. Take it to the courts. Let them decide. We don't need this crap. I'd rather see Marco Rubio become the next president than Ted Cruz. At least it'd be funny. And get lots of quips. I'm sure that a retired former President Trump would have something to say about that. Oh, look at little Marco in this speech that he gave. Ha ha, it was so cringeworthy or something like that. As far as Trump's plans go, though, he does have to attack the far right. But the thing is, he'll attack the Freedom Caucus. Part of this might be a ruse. Listen to this. What if he's trying to get McCain and Graham and the other neocons to fucking shut up for a while by pretending to ignore the fact that they're the ones actually standing in his way to attack the far right? The neocons have seen the far right, the uprising of the Tea Party, is the greatest problem within their party. He can get them to temporarily shut up, work with the center-left Democrats and the neocons on health care, while actually throwing bones to the Freedom Caucus. He'll come before the neocons and neolibs and say, yeah, I want this as much as you do, but we're going to have to give him something. We need the votes. Here, I've got a solution. Just let me take care of it. I'm Donald Trump. It'll be huge. Trust me, it'll be great, big, and beautiful. Then he actually reforms healthcare under the nose of Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi and these others. They don't even necessarily know fully what's going on. They're confused, but they pass it anyway. And you end up with a pretty good bill. You end up with something that does have sort of Rand Paul's name instead of Paul Ryan's name on it. It'd be great. And it would actually work. You get that cross-state competition alone, this probably would have passed. That's the only thing the Freedom Caucus really cared about. That and competitive drug pricing, neither of which Paul Ryan wanted to introduce because he's a neocon. But I don't think that Trump really wants to work with the neolibs. I think he'd rather work with a socialist and a Tea Partier than a neocon and a neoliberal. Any affront to his private life over the last 30 years within business before he got into politics came from neoliberals and neoconservatives. I don't think he's forgotten this. He's even spoken of keeping like a track record of people who have wronged him to lash out at them in the future and destroy them. Well, those are all going to be neoliberals and neoconservatives, and not going to be libertarian GOP members. Not some senator from Kentucky. It's not going to be some socialist from Vermont. It's going to be a bunch of neoconservatives and neoliberals. Ultimately, the Bushites, the Clintonians, those are the people that wronged him. I don't think that he's quite forgotten that fact. I think that he's trying to hoodwink the center in order to drag healthcare to the right, the wall to the right. On some issues, it'll probably go left. His, which one was it, the head of the DEA there saying, oh yeah, medical pot will be fine, but we're not ever going to have recreational marijuana, or whatever the hell he said. I think was it Tillerson or whatever? Can't even remember. Not even noteworthy. But, you know, Trump's not actually going to crack down. West Virginia just legalized medical marijuana, I think. Or the House voted for it, rather. It's a lost cause. Nothing the federal government can fucking do about it. Not going to be able to stop it. It's too many states that have already legalized. So I'm not even worried about that. The only thing Trump's doing wrong right now is not speaking out against this ISP crap, honestly. Defending the internet is very important for someone who is essentially, of course, elected by the internet. Otherwise, though, let his inner negotiator take hold. He's only been there for a few months. Ideologically, he's already accomplished some things. As far as actually physically accomplishing things, it takes a little bit longer to plan and to negotiate. That's about all. Peace out.